volume a little bit on your computer?
Yeah, maybe that's better. I don't know.
Oh, we're live. We're live. So here we go. What's up, everybody? I am so excited today because I'm here with my boy George Khalil, and we're going to get into how we met. So everybody say hello to George. I love being on camera with George because it makes me realize that even though I've been in the gym for an hour and a half every day, I need to be in the gym for 3 hours a day to look like him. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
I'll take it.
So George and I met a couple of years ago, and the first thing we had in common was God, right? Which is the most important thing. And we started talking about some of our belief systems, how that works in our lives, and that's obviously so. For some of you that are believers, that when you have that synergy with somebody, we're brothers instantly. So I was like, I love this guy. I knew him for 5 minutes, and we started talking about God. We started talking about real estate. We started talking about our wives, our children, our families. So most important, I'm never going to have anybody on this show that doesn't have like the same integrity, the same customer service mindset in mind, that we care about people, right? And at the end of the day, if you care about people, whatever business you're in, and you do the right thing, then you're going to have a good business. So welcome to our little show, George. And how you doing today, brother?
Doing great, brother. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me, man. And always good to see your face. I don't get to do that as much, but just get to hear your voice. But I like to see you too, man. So this is great that I get to see you at least. I don't know if everyone else gets to see us.
Yeah, it's live on Facebook.
Oh, so everyone's seeing. Okay, great, man. So that's great. So they're enjoying with me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you live an hour away, so you might as well live in North Carolina at this point.
Yeah, I know. No excuses, right? I know.
It's all good stuff. So we met when it was our buddy Joe O and Frank Marone, right? Where they were doing this real estate for a little while. They've always owned all pro titles, so they've always had the title company. And I got to speak up in the stage, and then you got to speak. And so just so you guys know, and I'll let George explain more. But first, we're going to talk about some personal stuff. George has the ability with him and his organization to find properties, right? So everybody we train at Velocity of Money is like, all right, where do I find the properties? And the first thing I say is, well, first of all, you have to know who you are in real estate investing, meaning there's share sale people, there's wholesale people, there's deed in lieu. George is going to talk about how they find properties. But in my training, it's yield and cash flow. And however you acquire the property, we're going to analyze it based on the yield and the cash flow, using the bank's money to buy the property and using the tenant's money to pay off the property. So the synergy we have is I'm teaching the financing and helping get the loans, and George might be able to help or at least teach how to get the inventory.
Exactly. So where would you like me to start?
Well, first I want to start with personal stuff. So talk to me about, because I want people to understand your journey, because your journey is not, and oftentimes with successful people that have successful businesses, it's unorthodox. And meaning, it's not like I didn't go to college to be a mortgage guy. Like I got into business after the telecom business in the 90s imploded in the dot-com era. Everybody went bankrupt, and I sort of just fell into the mortgage business. So tell everybody where you started and sort of how the journey began and where you are today personally, because I know it was a very unorthodox and inspiring one. So I want everybody to hear that.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's been actually quite a journey and an amazing one. So really, it started, I was a teacher. I was a math teacher for 12 years. So at that point, as a teacher, with teaching itself changing, and then also just kind of always having an entrepreneurial spirit and mind, wanting to do more, but and trying, I'd always try different things, from MLMs to different business models, and failing largely at everything. but I guess that's something that's part of the process. So then, I really felt like at that point, I did get into my first business, which kind of worked, which was a health club. And being that I was really into the fitness thing, that kind of just seemed like a natural match. But once I got in, what was once my dream was now man, I couldn't wait to get out of that business. It was just so crazy with Planet Fitness popping up, retro fitness popping up. So it had really changed. But so I did get out and I did make money, thank God. So it was a great business experience. And then I was kind of just seeking the next thing. But at that point, my walk with God had really started to take a whole new meaning and level. And really, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, it was just literally started by one day being at home, miserable, angry, but I guess at this point, kind of willing to submit and let go and surrender. And I met Jesus on my couch. And I'll tell you more about that another time. It was
Amazing.
I mean, literally met God. It was tangible. I'm not, he didn't appear to me physically or anything like that, but but it was tangible. So nonetheless, at that point, everything had really changed in my life. From marriage to parenting to just self value. I mean, everything just changed literally from that moment. And all of a sudden, I started to bump into this guy who I knew was like this successful real estate investor. I've known of him for probably almost a decade at this point. Started to bump into him like 2, 3, 4 times a week for like months. And it started to get really creepy, right? I'd see him like a ShopRite and in town, out of town, and I would see this guy and I start to hide. I'm like, this guy's gonna think I'm like following him. It was like really weird. But it eventually landed us, having to meet up for lunch because it was too weird. We met up, connected once again, off of our walk in Christ, and we really bonded through through our faith in God, and that relationship took off. And he really taught me so much, and I really got into. That's when the door opened to real estate. It wasn't really a door I was asking for, but God opened it and led me through it. So then we were doing sheriff sales, and this was 2000, end of 14, and coincidentally, my first deal was 12 King James Court, so it was kind of like
Crazy.
Almost symbolic, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy. So that started to take off, and we were just doing a lot of deals, and I was making, I was not crazy, but more as a teacher, which was not really saying that much either, but I kind of felt I got to the point where I left teaching. I felt I was doing enough for about a year and change, and then shortly after that, God had me move to Canada and leave what I was doing.
Okay, hold on 1 second. So that's great. I want to pause because here's what I want to say. Talk about for a second, because half of my thing with the coaching people now is mindset. Like, because you've spoken at my seminars, you were a huge part of the beginning of them. The mechanics aren't that hard. Like, all we have to do is teach people the end game, which is you want to have 3 to 5 properties paid off, and you're going to retire with $12,000 to $20,000 a month in cash flow, and your properties are going to be worth $2 million. Now, but the kind of where people are here is where the mess is, right? Because I have credit card debt, or my credit score is not that good, or I don't think I can do it. I don't have enough equity. So what's the point I'm making here is, how was your psychology? Because a lot of people go through this sort of indentured servant mentality their whole lives, right? They get a W-2 job and you're trading time for money. And I help people understand. So how did you do that? Because, yeah, the teaching job didn't pay you $1 million a year, obviously. but it was stable. So what happened in your mindset that took you from saying, I'm going to quit teaching and jump into this thing fully?
But that's a great question, a great point, man. That was one of the hardest things initially to break through, right? Break free from, was because we are trained, to become employees, right? And to become dependent. And I was very much used to the 10th and the 25th getting paid, right? So really to pull back from that was really hard. But I tell you, I mean, number one, I think one thing about me, I've always been teachable, right? I think that's the key. Teachable. I remember, when I was, maybe I don't know, upper teens, early 20s, working out at the gym, and some guy was talk, who I looked up to a little bit, and he was doing pretty well. And he told me, he's like, you know what, George, I really recommend, always pay your debts. Try to carry no debt. So literally till today, I don't do debts, right? I mean, obviously there's a time to leverage debt, and that's a different kind of story. But I learned things, as a young person, always paying off my loans, my credit cards, and not carrying that and sinking myself. I remember another guy was teaching me about expense ratios and the right, investing in Vanguard versus, other companies that charge you like crazy for your retirement accounts while I was employed. I listened and I learned. So, I think being teachable is key.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it definitely, and I think the real key is not only being teachable and of course surrounding yourself by people who are doing it. That's a huge thing, and just listening and applying. But also, it really, really, really helps to have someone leading you who knows everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you really depend on God and his leading, he's really faithful. And God has been, I can keep you guys here till next week. I don't think we have that much time in this podcast with the testimonies and the things that God has done. But, really being teachable.
Yeah. Crazy. So then you feel like God told you to just go to Canada for a while, right?
Literally, I mean, it just packed up, like literally. I was saying, God, if this is you, just make it clear, as we often do. It's a long story, so I won't get into it. He made it clear to the point where either now I had a choice to either obey or disobey. And I mean, so once I got what I needed to hear, it was July of 2016. October 2016, I was fully living. I mean, I packed my family, all our belongings. I was thinking I was going to be there forever. So that was, that's not an easy. It's hard to move 30 minutes away, let alone across a border, right? And at that point too, I left the first thing that I was doing that actually worked and made me successful, right? But it was an amazing journey over there, and at some point, God brought me back, and here we are. And God has been faithful and opening doors and creating new opportunities. And one day, I would love to be able to share the specifics on what happened really in that journey, because then you would all understand why it was really very clear. But here we are, and once again, even my business today and what we're doing, I'm not going to tell you guys, it was, God had definitely equipped me with the right people like Frank, people like, I can name a few people who have really, rubbed off on me the right way and taught me things, and I've learned from their experience. And that's where I think really just always being teachable, always willing to be taught, I think is really important. And then always wanting to serve others, which I learned a lot from Frank, is also key. But even our business model today is literally, God definitely had his hand in it, and we're doing really good.
We're going to talk about that in a second, because I know everybody watching is interested in how do you acquire real estate and where is the inventory, right? We have a bigger inventory problem now than we probably have ever had. But let me say this. I believe that when you have the right mindset to learn and be humble and grow in whatever you're doing, like real estate or how to become a real estate millionaire. That's the approach you took, right? You're being humble, you're being intelligent about it, you're learning, and you're getting rewarded for that honest, desirable effort. And that's what we love about what we do. Like everyone's like, oh, well, you're charging for coaching now, right? Versus the free seminars. Well, why were they free and now why are you coaching? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we've enhanced the curriculum so deeply. Before it was a lot of good information, live pre-COVID, right? And we wanted to help people and do their loans. Well, that's great. But now I actually have a curriculum that gives them step-by-step instructions on how to get their 3 to 5 properties paid off in 15 years or less. So with us, there was a synergy, I think, not because we had all the answers when we started doing the seminars, but because people knew that we were true and authentic to wanting to help them. So, I mean, you've helped more people that you haven't made any money on. Probably 95% of the people you've helped for free because you feel like it's your calling versus helping people for a monetary value. So, like, my wife's always like, well, you know, what is that doing for the kingdom? I'm like, I'll tell you what it's doing for the kingdom. If I can help 10,000 people retire and leave generational wealth to the next and educate, incubate, and help them and help, what happens is a father will teach his son. Right? The right father is going to show, hey, I bought these 3 properties. Here's what yield looks like. Here's how you pay. Here's how you pay it off. Maybe we can parlay this profit into the next one. So it's not, it's the old give someone a fish or teach them to fish, right? So that has a huge thing to do with the advancement of the kingdom because I earn a decent living. Like I could just write loans for people and pay my bills and be selfish, but that doesn't help America. That doesn't help society. I realized when I started doing loans for people in 2001 that America was kind of broke and America had a financial problem, which is retirement. So fast forward now, it's 2021. We have a teaching coaching seminar that is awesome. We have an awesome mortgage group that does loans. We've done a bunch of loans for you. And let's talk about where you guys are at now in your real estate journey, because I know you have an awesome partner and you guys are rocking and rolling. So tell everybody a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, like the big issue is just inventory, right? I mean, a property hits the market. I mean, it's not getting less than 20 some offers, right? So anything on market, I mean, is just going like crazy. So obviously, for years, I mean, when I was actually at some point flipping houses, I was buying properties literally that were listed, right? But there was so much inventory that I could, put in offers and get some. Maybe, I mean, I didn't get every property I put an offer in, but I could get, deals through the MLS. Now, forget about it. It's impossible. So at some point, we took a shift, focusing purely on off-market deals. That's the only space really that works. So what we do is we have a whole bunch of, marketing campaigns that we are running literally from, mailers. I know it's old school. I think old school still works, to literally, we actually, have some radio campaigns where which I really love because then people are just calling us, right? Which is much better. We have a whole bunch of different campaigns, and we learned, we kind of figured out the systems, and it's really a blueprint. Really, it's not rocket science, to be honest, right? You got to just apply it. But at this stage in the game, we do invest quite a bit of money. So that I would say the only hiccup is investing, but the marketing costs. But at the same time, we've had so many people contact us like, hey, listen, I just want to learn. I just want to do this. I want to be free. And, kind of to your point, Frank, is that, we've been so customized to, hey, look, hey, man, you know what? He works from 6 a.m. and doesn't get home till 6 p.m. And we've said, hey, that's honorable. Right. And it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging anyone who does. But at the same time, I realized also, it's honorable to spend time with my wife. It's honorable to be around my kids and get to enjoy them and raise them and to be involved in their life and not just have to work to live. And I don't think anybody here has a problem with getting more time. So sometimes people, think, oh, because you're trying to do this, that it's all about money. It's not about money. It's about, the quality of life. And it doesn't, whether you make 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, or tens of thousands, hey, it's all relative and it's all good based on where you need to be and where you want to be. Right. But I think, with like Frank was saying, it is, Frank's put together so much information, and I've kind of got the privilege to kind of see him along the way from when he first started and we were starting the seminars, and they're like, hey, there's a major problem here in this. People are really struggling, and a lot of it is just due to ignorance. It's not that no one wants to struggle. No one says, hey, I hope to be in debt and struggling and living check to check. Everyone's intention is always different. But once again, the word of God says, hey, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And sometimes it's just being informed. And that's what I find, so many people, like I said, people will call me and say, hey, literally, actually, I just had a phone call Wednesday with an old coworker from the school. She's like, hey, I heard you're wholesaling. I heard you're flipping. I really want to learn. And what I told her is to say, hey, listen, I'll tell you everything. I'll be an open book, because I have, I don't have to sit there and try to hoard stuff to myself. I think when you have that mindset, things just come back to you. People will bring, I told her, I said, listen, I know she's new in this. I said, listen, I'll give you everything I know. I'll give you all the support. If you get appointments, I'll even go with you. I'll help you. And I just trust that, along the way, you'll think of me and you'll give me an opportunity to work with you on those deals.
Yeah.
And that's it. So at this, and if she chooses to run with them on her own eventually, hey, no worries, because, it'll always come back. It'll always come back.
You're helping somebody.
Exactly. So I think that's why I commend you, Frank, is that, yeah, I mean, look, Frank is a beast. He's killing it in the mortgage game, especially this last year or so with the rates. I know this guy was drowning his team.
We had to add some staff because we were killing people that worked.
Yeah, they like doubled or tripled in staff. So they're drowning. So realistically, in some sense, I think a lot of people would just have, been happy. They're making a lot more money, upgrade, spend more, vacation home. I know he loves Florida, so I know, if he didn't care about doing stuff like this, I would definitely never see him.
I would just sit in Florida. Yeah.
Right, or California or somewhere or other, right? But he's spending his time really coaching and teaching, because it's really, once again, it's really not rocket science, man. It just, it just, a lot of people kind of just won't be transparent and won't give you the information. But Frank is, really here to give the information. And that's one thing I learned, is that, you help people, it'll always work out.
That's very kind of you, and I appreciate that. And let me say this in regards to that. Like, I'm like a frustrated football coach. Like, I should have coached football. But like, when I got my first sales job and I made $75,000 my first year. I was like 25 years old, just got done playing minor league baseball. And I went back because I was like, oh, I don't really have a passion for selling phone systems. That wasn't fun for me. So let me go back to teaching and coaching. And then I was like, oh boy, I kind of enjoyed the money. So I looked at what I would have made as a teacher and a coach, and I commend them. Like, they put my son's high school football coach at Mountain Lakes. I mean, he's an awesome dude. That guy can run a company, right? He runs an organization. He runs year-round training. These guys are awesome, and they don't get paid a ton of money for it. So what I did, and it's like my friend Robert Belkier, who he kind of runs Cornerstone that way. Like, I have a passion for coaching and helping people. And so when I look at, you could do it a lot of ways, right? Like, you could coach a young man in football, high school, and hopefully you put some seeds in their life so that they become better young men and husbands and fathers. Or you could do it financially. And so I feel like when I look at what I'm doing every day, it's a beautiful puzzle. Because I could have looked at George Khalil 10 years ago and said, okay, this is what you're making. This is what you have in the bank. Here's what we're going to do. Property 1, property 2, property 3, boom. And one of our good friends, right, has bought so many properties, and we respect the heck out of him. And what did I say to him the one time when I looked at his beautiful wall? I was like, oh, like, I just wish you had like half these properties because you'd have $500,000 a month. Now, everyone has a game, right? Like, if I had saved 90% of them or 10% of the money that I've made, I'd have a lot more money too. So the question is, how do we acquire tangible assets that can leave generational wealth? And that's what our program talks about. So you guys are marketing in many different ways, and you're finding properties sometimes where you're helping people get out of properties that they're a little messed up on, right, financially. But at the end of the day, it's the right inventory at the right price.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we're getting everything from single family properties to sometimes literally, 20 some unit, 30 unit buildings, right? Anywhere from Essex County, somewhere. I mean, we just looked at a deal right today. We analyzed it in near Cape May, right? So we're kind of stretching. It's all different types of things, but I think really the direction that you're promoting and really trying to teach people is really, really, really the way to go. Getting rental properties. Does it require some effort? Yeah. So does everything.
So does everything. Yep.
So
you're not going to be like George unless you go to the gym like a maniac. How it goes.
Right. It always requires it. But at the same time also, just like Frank's formula for just 3, 4, 5 properties. I mean, man, if everyone, I mean, we just don't know, right? We just don't know, right? But once you learn, you realize that everyone, I mean, and Frank, teaches it on all the benefits, not just the rental income, which is one aspect, not just the appreciation, not just the write-offs and interest, not just there's depreciation, which 99.9% of people have no idea about, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many aspects to real estate that are, I mean, that's why the most successful people just have real estate. That's what it is. No matter what, we people hate on different people and they say, hey, they hardly pay taxes. I said, look, if you understood depreciation, if you understood the benefits, then you would not be hating on them. You would be getting into real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, really what you're teaching people, and, once again, I mean, I wish that when I was teaching, somehow, some way, I came across this 10 years ago. Right now, it would be such a. I mean, obviously it's not too late, and we're doing it now. But man, especially back then when it crashed, oh my gosh,
yeah,
I'd be. Listen, it must have been God's will for me not to know, because I'd be too big and I would probably be inaccessible. I'd probably be on some island somewhere right now.
Yeah, well, I listen to Ed Milet a lot. I don't know if you've ever seen his podcast, but he's a believer. He's about 51 years old and he's worth over $1 billion. And he has all these people on his podcasts that are this Pastor Ed McManus, something McManus. He was on today. Unbelievable. And the point is that at every level, right? Ed Milet says 2 things. He says, I will never retire because then you're selling out on growth. Like the idea that like, well, I'm just going to go, retire and like sit on the sidelines. Well, that means that like your energy has a price, right? And so like a part of me that's a maniac is because like it's fun. And I love to see taking somebody's life and improving it. Like even a first-time homebuyer. Like we take a scared, insecure millennial couple who's 27 years old and we send them back and like they're fired up and ready to buy by the time I'm done with them. That's fun, right? Anybody can sell an interest rate. Like, well, I can get like my phone to advertise when rates were 2.5%. Anybody could do that. And you kind of live with the same passion, or not kind of. You live with the same passion. I also want to say something else that Ed Milet says. He says, whatever you don't hate, you end up tolerating. Meaning, people, if you want to have a future in retirement, you have to look at your current life and your current portfolio and say, I hate the direction of where this is going, because right now you're tolerating it. So once again, it's part of a change and a shift in mindset. And once we shift our mindset, if somebody comes to me and says, Frank, I don't care what I have to do. It's like an officer and a gentleman. Remember that movie? I'm aging myself.
No.
It was a Marines. He was in the Marines, and they tried to throw him out. And he was like, it was this scene, and it's raining, and he's like, I have nowhere else to go. Like, and he's crying. He's like, I have nowhere else to go. And here's the point. If people were like, I need 12 to 15,000 a month in retirement, I need $1 million or $2 million in real estate, I want to join your coaching program because I want to be able to not only pay my bills in retirement, but leave it to my children and leave it to their children, then you're with the right group of people. George and I can help you with that. But if, the problem in society right now is people are weak and people are beat up by circumstances. They don't understand the end game, and they're just busy in the rat race. So that's not to make you feel bad. That's to say that we have a solution to helping people along that journey. So as we finish up, I just want, A, we'll give you contact information. B, are you still in Jersey mostly? Have you gone to Florida and other parts of the country? Or where are you helping people with real estate acquisition?
I mean, primarily New Jersey right now, just because it's we're here, right? We got boots on the ground. So my partner is in Robbinsville area. So I'm in Somerset County. So we kind of stretch out, and it's working right now. We've gotten a little bit into Georgia, a little bit into Ohio. We want to get into Florida, but really, we're just trying to keep up here. So, and it's nice here because once again, if we connect with somebody like, I love, and I hope I'm not giving anything away, but some of your, what you're teaching these people, teaching your students on, instead of buying their first property, instead of buying that single family home, start with multifamilies, right? And how that can change your life over time. And sometimes, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'll make this quick. I was talking to a friend of mine who was buying a property, nice budget, single guy. And I'm telling him, I said, bro, what are you doing? Buy a multifamily. Not because I'm trying to make a sale. I'm going to sell it regardless. I don't care who buys it. But I said, trust me. And 1 year later, boom, it'll be covering itself. And you need a big single family house for. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
And except for just, be in debt and just pay and live to pay your mortgage.
Well, that's a huge point. Let me jump in real quick because you make so many good points. I got to jump in. So it's asset versus liability, right? If that person owns a single family from day one, it's a liability.
Correct.
If they buy a multifamily, it's an asset because the asset comes from the fact that it's spitting off rental income. Now, we also created this thing called Single Family Fast Track, which shows people how to buy a few single families and turn them into rentals. So we can take a liability and turn it into an asset.
Correct.
That's the biggest shift that we have for first-time home buyers I get the wrong answer almost every time. Is your real estate an asset or a liability? And they'll go, asset? And I'm like, are you paying the bills to live there? Yes. Do you have to go to work to pay the bills? Yes. Is it spitting off any income? No. Does it cost you money? No. Yes. It's a liability because it's not spitting off income. So it's just if everybody listening just got this premise, which George just made the point, is you have to turn real estate into an asset.
Correct.
And an asset spits off income. And the definition of wealth from Robert Kiyosaki, right, is that your passive investments pay your bills on a monthly basis at home. So if you're bringing in $10,000 a month from your passive investments, meaning you don't go to work to create that, and they pay your bills at home, you're wealthy. So that means I'm still poor because I don't have enough passive income to pay all my debts at home. Now, if you're being fair to me, I have 5 kids, so that's kind of challenging, and that costs a lot of money. But at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? That your passive investment pay all your bills.
Exactly. And once again, also to your point is that, it doesn't always have to be multifamilies. Generally, that they can always, the better chance of income covering the expense. But yeah, I mean, it's doable. But when you just understand the mindset and kind of what you're looking for and how you want to position yourself. Obviously, it's never too late. The sooner you start, the better. So, just get on it now and learn it. And hopefully, me linking with Frank, we can, we'll link up in terms of giving my contact info and show you guys how you can kind of view what we're getting and, see it works. But definitely number one, learn from Frank, learn this. And it's really, like I said, and it's literally for everyone. It's for everyone. It's not that, you don't have to have $1 million already. Don't worry about capital. Just get the knowledge. And once I always tell people, I say, everybody at some point has probably or more definitely come across at least one opportunity, if not more. They probably had somebody telling them something, a venting or something, telling them, and the problem is they just didn't recognize it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, because it's lack of knowledge and clarity in that moment. Right?
Correct.
And at the end of the day, when you have knowledge and education, it creates clarity.
Yes.
And so that's the important part of learning, because we all pay a lot of money to go to college. I'm not sure what we learn in college, but I'm giving people a Harvard education for a fraction of the cost. But so let me ask you a question. If people are having trouble with the property, if people have an aunt, an uncle, an inheritance, situations like that, they should contact you, correct? Because you might be able to help them on something like that.
100%. That's what we specialize in. We're buying anything, right? Even if they're underwater, we've learned different creative finance structures. So really the key is, once again, like, we'll always stretch and try to make it work because we want to help the person who is in the jam, right? And of course, if anybody's watching and they bring us the opportunity, of course, if we monetize it in any way, they'll get a fee. But more importantly, at the same time, like Frank kind of mentioned in the beginning, I could probably give you guys, a handful of references where people have contacted me with a situation, and the best thing I could do for them was point them in a different direction, and it worked out for them. So once again, that still gives me a reference, and I'm happy. And so once again, it's not always about making money. Money will be made, of course, or else then we won't be sitting here talking about it, because we'll be working somewhere else. But so we do have to make money, but at the same time, once again, helping people is the way to go, and what we do. And let us know. And definitely, if you have any kind of situation, inherited property, beat up property, vacant property, grandparents are moving into an assisted living or a nursing home, or you just can't keep up with the payments, just tired of looking at this house, and it's, you owe too much, whatever the situation is, keep us in mind. We'll either be able to help you make something happen, or definitely point you in the right direction.
Beautiful. How do they get in touch with you? Jasmine's really, really good at this. She'll put it across the screen. If you tell, what's your email? What phone number can they call?
Okay. You give it to you right now?
Yeah, go.
All right. 908-455-9858. And my email address is George, George, at swifthomebuyers.co, not com.
swifthomebuyers.co.
Correct.
Boom, look at that.
Magic.
Jasmine's the best.
Even magic, but very impressive.
She's like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain.
Hey. Awesome. Yeah. So anybody, please feel free to contact me. If I can help, if I can guide, I will. Otherwise, I'll definitely put you in the right direction. And then, Frank, once again, thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
You got it, brother. And I'm at hello@velocitymoney.com. You guys know, you see some of my work on social media. And boy, George and I forced ourselves to talk about this stuff. We really would rather talk about God and the Holy Spirit, what he's done in our lives and other people's lives. But in time, brother, in time. We got to get you guys down to the boat this summer.
Maybe we'll have to do a special podcast for that one, because that one, that one might run over a little bit in time. Because once you get me going, man, I got too much to share, but it would definitely be worth hearing, I think.
That would be a 36-hour podcast.
At least.
Good. Well, thanks for coming on, brother. You're always a pleasure to see. Say hello to the wife and kids. And
You as well, brother. God bless you guys. God bless everyone who was watching. And thanks again, man. Talk to you soon.
God bless.
Okay.
See you soon.